Admiral Jack Morrison had seen many things in his 40 years of service. He had watched stars die and new ones being born. He had negotiated peace between warring worlds and commanded fleets in battles that decided the fate of entire systems. But he had never seen anything like this. He stood in the command center of Outpost Sentinel-9, staring at the main display screen. The space station was huge, home to 15,000 people, and it floated at the very edge of Kelvorian territory. For 3,000 years, the Kelvorian Empire had ruled this part of the galaxy. They controlled 847 star systems, and their sensors watched everything that moved in space. Nothing entered their territory without them knowing about it. Nothing. Until now. Commander Kate Sullivan walked up to him, her face tight with worry. She was young for her rank, only 32. But she was the best tactical officer Jack had ever worked with. Her fingers moved quickly across her data pad as she brought up the readings again. "Sir, it's still there. The computer has run the scans 4 times. This is real." Jack looked at the screen. A small dot moved across the star map, heading directly toward the heart of the Empire. The computer had marked it with a red warning symbol. "What do we know?" Jack asked. Kate shook her head. "Almost nothing. That's the problem. The vessel appeared on our long-range sensors 3 hours ago. But it shouldn't be possible." "Explain." "When ships travel faster than light, they leave a signature. It's like a footprint in space. We can detect it from very far away. This ship has no signature, no hyperspace trail, no dimensional wake, nothing. It's like it just appeared out of nowhere." Dr. Ben Carter joined them. He was the chief science officer, a man who had spent his entire life studying how things moved through space. He looked confused and frustrated. "Admiral, I've checked the sensors 5 times. They're working perfectly. This vessel is really there, but our systems can't identify what it is or where it came from. Our database has information on over 10,000 different spacefaring species. This matches none of them." Jack felt a cold sensation in his stomach. "How fast is it moving?" Kate pulled up more data. "That's another problem. It's traveling at speeds that should be impossible, faster than our best ships. But it's not using any propulsion system we recognize. No ion drives, no quantum engines, no reality anchors. The computer can't even classify what's pushing it forward. Could it be a new weapon? Something from the Mithraxians?" "No, sir. I thought of that too. But the Mithraxians are our allies, and besides, their technology is very similar to ours. This is something completely different." Jack walked closer to the screen. The small red dot continued its steady path toward the Empire's core systems. He touched the display, and numbers appeared. Speed. Trajectory. Estimated arrival time, 72 hours. In 3 days, this unknown vessel would reach Kelvor Prime, the capital world where billions of people lived. Where his daughter Amy was finishing her studies at the university. "Send everything we have to the Emperor. He needs to know about this immediately." Kate nodded and sent the data. Minutes later, Jack's communication screen lit up. It was Intelligence Director Lisa Hayes, calling from the capital. "Admiral Morrison, the Emperor has received your report. He wants answers." "What is this thing?" "We don't know yet, Director. We're trying to make contact. Try harder." "The Emperor is very concerned. If this vessel can bypass all our detection systems and move at these speeds, it could be a serious threat." After the call ended, Jack ordered his communications team to start sending messages to the unknown vessel. They used every language known in the galaxy. They sent mathematical patterns, pictures, even simple radio waves. Everything they could think of to say hello. No response came back. The vessel kept moving, steady and silent, like it didn't even know they were there. Dr. Carter spent hours studying the energy readings. Finally, he came to Jack with something that made the situation even stranger. "Admiral, this ship is too quiet. I mean, it's not just ignoring us. It's like it doesn't detect our presence at all. Every ship gives off heat, radiation, Electromagnetic waves. This one barely registers. It's almost like a ghost. Ghosts aren't real, Doctor. I know. But I don't know what else to call it. Kate ran simulation after simulation on her computers. She was trying to figure out if they could stop the vessel, if they needed to. The results were not good. She found Jack in his office late that night. He was looking at a picture of Amy, taken on her 20th birthday. Sir, I ran the numbers. If this vessel is hostile and decides to attack, we can't stop it in time. Even if we mobilize every ship in the fleet, we couldn't intercept it before it reaches the capital. Jack set down the picture. That's not acceptable, Commander. There has to be a way. Their way. Also, there were constig to the way. I'm sorry, sir. With the speed it's traveling and the course it's on, physics is against us. We can't move our ships fast enough. Fast enough. They stood in silence for a moment. Outside the window, stars shined in the darkness of space. Jack had always found them beautiful. But tonight, they seemed cold and distant. What would you do, Kate, if you were in command? She thought for a moment. I would prepare for the worst but hope for the best. Mobilize the fleet and put them in defensive positions. Continue trying to communicate, and pray that whoever is flying that ship comes in peace. Jack nodded slowly. Send the orders. Full military alert. I want every available ship ready to move. And keep trying to contact that vessel. Someone is flying it, and eventually they have to respond. As Kate left to carry out the orders, Jack looked back at the picture of his daughter. 3 days. That's all they had to figure out what was coming toward them, and whether it meant the end of the Empire or something else entirely. The small red dot on the screen continued its journey through space, silent and mysterious, carrying secrets that would change everything the Kelvorian Empire thought they knew about the galaxy. Emperor Vexthun was not a patient being. He had ruled the Kelvorian Empire for 200 years, and in all that time, no one had challenged his authority or questioned his power. Now, an unknown vessel was flying through his territory like he didn't exist, and it made him angry. Contact them, he ordered from his throne on Kelvor Prime. Use every method we have. I want to know who they are and what they want. Admiral Morrison received the order and set his entire team to work. The communications specialists tried everything they could think of. They sent messages in 2,147 different languages and dialects. They used mathematical sequences, chemical formulas, and even sent pictures of the Kelvorian people to show they meant no harm. The unknown vessel ignored them all. It didn't slow down, didn't change course, didn't send any message back. It just kept moving forward through space, like a ship with no one aboard. But someone had to be flying it. Ships didn't fly themselves. Not like this. Someone was making decisions about where to go and how fast to travel. Dr. Carter discovered something new after studying the vessel for another 12 hours. He called Jack to his laboratory, his hands shaking with excitement or fear. Jack couldn't tell which. Admiral, look at this. Ben pointed to his screen, where waves of energy scrolled past in complex patterns. This ship is doing something impossible. It's moving through normal space, not hyperspace or any other dimension, but it's going faster than light. That can't be right. Nothing moves faster than light in normal space. I know. That's what makes this so strange. When objects move that fast, time slows down for them. It's called time dilation. But this vessel shows no signs of it. Somehow, it's avoiding all the normal effects of moving at these speeds. Jack tried to understand what this meant. So it's breaking the laws of physics? Not breaking them, exactly. More like it found a way around them that we never thought of. This could change everything we know about space travel. While they were trying to understand the mystery, Fleet Admiral Dan Cooper was gathering an army. Cooper was a military man through and through, and he didn't like threats to the Empire. If this vessel wouldn't talk, maybe it would respond to a show of force. He mobilized the 3rd, 7th, and 12th battle groups. 450 warships began moving toward intercept positions. They were the pride of the Kelvorian fleet, equipped with weapons that could destroy planets if needed. The neighboring empires heard about the unknown vessel and offered help. The Zarthian Collective and the Mithraxian Unity both sent messages saying they would send ships if needed. The entire region of space was preparing for a possible war. Captain Ryan Blake commanded the Empire's fastest interceptor squadron. He had 20 ships under his command, small and quick, designed to chase down anything that moved. When Admiral Cooper gave him orders to intercept the unknown vessel, he accepted without hesitation. "We'll match speed with it and take a closer look," Ryan told his pilots. "Stay sharp and keep your weapons ready. But don't fire unless I give the order." The interceptors launched from their carrier ship and raced toward the unknown vessel. Ryan had never failed a mission, and he didn't plan to start now. As his ships got closer, strange things started happening. The instruments on his console began showing numbers that made no sense. The computer kept giving error messages. One of his pilots reported that her navigation system had stopped working completely. "Stay in formation," Ryan ordered, fighting with his own controls. "We're almost there." Then they saw it. The vessel appeared on their visual screens, still far away but visible now. It was smaller than Ryan expected, maybe the size of a standard cargo ship. The design was strange, not matching anything in the Empire's records. It looked smooth and simple, with no visible weapons or defensive shields. Ryan opened a channel to transmit directly at the ship. "Unknown vessel. This is Captain Blake of the Kelvorian Empire. Please respond and identify yourself." Nothing came back. The vessel kept moving forward. "Get me closer," Ryan told his pilot. "I want a full scan of that ship." They pushed their engines harder, trying to match the vessel's speed. For a few moments, they were gaining on it. Ryan's sensors started picking up more details. The hull was made of materials he didn't recognize. There were strange markings on the side, symbols that meant nothing to him. Then everything changed. The unknown vessel suddenly accelerated. One moment it was ahead of them, and the next it was gone. It didn't gradually speed up like a normal ship. It just moved impossibly fast, as if it had teleported across space. Ryan's squadron was left behind, their engines screaming as they tried to keep up. But it was hopeless. The vessel was already thousands of kilometers away and still moving faster. "What just happened?" one of Ryan's pilots asked, her voice shaking. "I don't know," Ryan admitted. He had never seen anything move like that. His instruments had recorded energy readings right before the acceleration, and they were off the scale. The amount of power that vessel had just used should have torn a hole in space itself. Back at Outpost Sentinel-9, Kate Sullivan watched the data from Ryan's encounter. She ran it through her computer again and again, hoping to find an answer. But every simulation gave the same result. "This doesn't make sense," she told Jack. "The energy output we detected should have destroyed that ship. No hull could survive those forces. But it's still flying perfectly fine." Jack felt that cold sensation in his stomach again, stronger this time. "How long until it reaches the capital?" 48 hours, sir." 2 days. Orders came from the Emperor. Evacuation procedures were started on Kelvor Prime. Not a full evacuation. That would cause too much panic. But important government officials and their families were quietly moved to safety. Jack's daughter Amy called him, scared and confused about why her university was sending students home early. "It's just a precaution, honey," Jack told her, trying to sound calm. "Everything will be fine." But he didn't know if that was true. Kate worked through the night, trying one more idea. She suggested they try a different kind of communication. Instead of complex languages or messages, they would use the simplest thing possible: basic mathematics and the universal constant of hydrogen emission, something any species capable of space travel would understand. They sent the message toward the vessel. A simple pattern of numbers and frequencies that said, in the most basic way possible, "We are here. We are intelligent. Please respond." For hours, nothing happened. The vessel kept coming closer, now entering the inner territories of the Empire. Panic spread across 100 worlds as people heard rumors of an unstoppable ship heading toward the capital. Then, finally, something changed. The vessel slowed down. For the first time since it appeared, it reduced its speed. It was still moving fast, but no longer at impossible speeds. And then they received a message. It was simple, sent using primitive radio waves, the kind of technology the Kelvorians hadn't used in thousands of years. The message was in a language no one had ever heard before. Dr. Carter's translation computer worked on it for 10 minutes before finding patterns. The AI analyzed the sounds, compared them to known linguistic structures, and finally produced a translation. Jack read the words on his screen and couldn't believe what he was seeing. "This is the Earth vessel Pathfinder. We come in peace. We apologize for any alarm. We're just passing through Earth." The word meant nothing to anyone in the command center. Jack immediately ordered Kate to search every database they had. Every planet, every species, every mention in their entire history. Kate's fingers flew across her console as she searched through 3,000 years of records. The computer processed millions of entries in seconds. Finally, it found something. "Sir, I have a match. It's from an old survey mission. 8,000 years ago. Planet designation, Terra 3. Located in a remote star system, far from any major trade routes. The survey team noted the presence of primitive life. Single-celled organisms in the oceans. Nothing advanced. The system had no valuable resources, so we never went back." Jack stared at the information. 8,000 years ago, that planet had only simple life. Now, it had spaceships that could outrun the entire Kelvorian fleet. "That's impossible. Evolution doesn't work that fast." "I know, sir. It took our species 4 million years to develop space travel from the time we became intelligent. Most species take at least 1,000,000 years. 8,000 years is nothing." Dr. Carter was already calculating the numbers. When he saw the results, his face went pale. "Admiral, if these numbers are correct, this species developed technology 500 times faster than any known race in the galaxy." Before Jack could respond, another message came from the vessel. This time it included a visual transmission. A face appeared on the screen, and everyone in the command center stared. It was clearly an alien, but not so different from many humanoid species. 2 eyes, a nose, a mouth, hair on top of the head. The being looked young and seemed nervous. "Hello," the being said, and the translation computer worked quickly to convert the words. "My name is Commander Sophie Martinez. I'm the captain of the Earth exploration vessel, Pathfinder. I apologize if we caused any concern. We had no idea anyone was out here." Jack found his voice. "Commander Martinez? This is Admiral Jack Morrison of the Kelvorian Empire. You're traveling through our territory. We've been trying to contact you for days." Sophie looked surprised. "Your territory? I'm sorry. Our sensors didn't detect any signs of civilization in this region. We've been traveling for 3 months and haven't seen any indication of intelligent life." 3 months? Kate whispered. "They've crossed hundreds of light years in 3 months?" Sophie continued. "We're on an exploration mission from Earth. We developed a new propulsion system, and we're testing it by visiting nearby star systems. We're just trying to see what's out there." Jack tried to stay calm and diplomatic. "Commander, you should know that you're currently in an empire that spans 847 star systems. We have trillions of citizens. How is it possible that your sensors didn't detect us?" Sophie looked embarrassed. "I honestly don't know. Our sensor technology might not be very good. We're still learning. Earth only launched its first deep space mission 6 months ago." The room went silent. 6 months. These beings had gone from their home planet to interstellar travel in 6 months. Dr. Carter couldn't help himself. Commander Martinez, our records show your planet had only simple life 8,000 years ago. How did you develop space travel so quickly? Commander Martinez. Commander Martinez. Commander Martinez. Commander Martinez. Sophie seemed confused by the question. 8,000 years? I'm not sure what you mean. Modern humans have been around for about 200,000 years. We developed agriculture about 12,000 years ago. And we've been building civilizations ever since. We invented the airplane about 200 years ago. Reached our moon about 100 years ago. And developed faster than light travel 50 years ago. Kate did the calculations in her head. That means they went from inventing flight to faster than light travel in only 150 years. That's insane. Ah! Jack kept his attention on Sophie. Commander, what kind of propulsion system are you using? It's called the Alcubierre-Chen drive. We warp space-time around our ship, creating a bubble that moves through space. Inside the bubble, we're not really moving at all, so we don't experience time dilation or relativistic effects. It took us about 50 years to figure out how to make it work. End quote. Dr. Carter looked like someone had hit him. They invented it. They didn't discover old technology or learn it from another species. They invented faster-than-light travel from scratch. Emperor Vex Thun watched the conversation from his palace. He had lived for over 300 years and ruled for 200. He had seen many things, but this was something new. He made a decision. Invite them to the capital. I want to meet these humans. Sophie accepted the invitation. She explained that the Pathfinder was too large to land on a planet, but they could send a shuttle with a small crew. Jack gave them coordinates and instructions. 2 days later, the shuttle arrived at Kelvor Prime. It was small and simple compared to Kelvorian spacecraft, but it landed smoothly at the Imperial spaceport. Sophie Martinez emerged with 3 other humans. Dr. Paul Hendricks, their chief scientist, Lieutenant Alex Chen, their pilot, and engineer Hannah Price, who had helped design their ship. Jack met them personally. The humans were about his height, maybe a bit shorter. They looked around with wide eyes, clearly amazed by everything they saw. Kelvor Prime was one of the most advanced worlds in the galaxy, with buildings that reached into the sky and technology that seemed like magic. This is incredible, Paul said, staring at a passing transport vehicle that floated above the ground. How does that work? Kate, who was accompanying Jack, started to explain. It uses graviton manipulation to counter the planet's gravity. The technology is about 2,000 years old. Alex, the young pilot, studied the vehicle carefully. Graviton manipulation. We've theorized about that, but never managed to make it work. Could I look at the engineering specifications? Kate was surprised by the direct question. I suppose that would be acceptable. They traveled to the Imperial Palace, where Emperor Vex Thun waited. The palace was enormous, built from crystal that caught the light and filled the rooms with rainbows. The humans seemed overwhelmed by everything they saw. The emperor sat on his throne, an impressive figure with blue skin and 4 arms. He studied the humans carefully as they approached. Welcome to Kelvor Prime, he said. You have caused quite a disturbance in my empire. Sophie bowed respectfully. We sincerely apologize, Your Majesty. We meant no harm. We're explorers, not invaders. So I have been told. Tell me, Sophie Martinez, what does Earth want from the galaxy? Sophie thought about the question. Honestly, Your Majesty, we just want to learn. We want to know what's out there. We want to meet other intelligent species and learn from them. We're curious about the universe. Vex Thun leaned forward. And what if you find threats to your world? What if you discover species that wish you harm? Then we'll deal with those problems when we find them. But we prefer to assume the best about people until proven otherwise. The Emperor studied her face for a long moment. Then, he did something unexpected. He laughed. You are either very brave or very foolish. I have not decided which. But you interest me. Human. Your species developed faster than light travel in a fraction of the time it took us. You cross the galaxy in ships with no weapons. You approach unknown empires with hope instead of fear. You are either going to change everything, or you are going to get yourselves killed. Sophie smiled. We're hoping for the first option. That evening, the humans stayed as guests of the Empire. Jack found Sophie standing on a balcony, looking up at the night sky. The capital world had 3 moons, and they shone brightly overhead. Beautiful, isn't it? Jack said, joining her. It really is. We've dreamed about this for so long. Meeting other intelligent life. Seeing other worlds. It's better than we imagined. Can I ask you something? Why aren't you afraid? You're on an alien world, surrounded by an empire of trillions. You have no weapons, no defenses. Doesn't that worry you? Sophie looked at him and shrugged. Sure. It's a little scary. But being afraid doesn't help anything. We chose to come out here. We knew there would be risks. But we also knew that if we stayed home and never explored, we'd never learn anything new. Jack thought about his 40 years in space. He had always been cautious. Always followed regulations. Always prepared for the worst. These humans were so different. They jumped into the unknown with enthusiasm instead of fear. Your ship, the Pathfinder. Is it the only one? Oh no, Sophie said cheerfully. We launched 12 exploration ships this year. They're all heading in different directions, mapping nearby space. Earth is really eager to see what's out there. Jack felt that cold sensation in his stomach again. But this time, it was mixed with something else. Excitement. Maybe. Or wonder. The galaxy had just become a much more interesting place. The humans stayed on Kelvor Prime for a week. During that time, they met with scientists, engineers, and diplomats from across the Empire. Everyone wanted to understand how these strange beings had developed such advanced technology so quickly. Dr. Carter spent hours talking with Dr. Paul Hendricks. They sat in a laboratory, surrounded by screens showing complex mathematical equations. Paul explained how the Alcubierre-Chen drive worked, drawing diagrams and writing formulas. It's actually pretty simple once you understand the basic concept, Paul said. You create a bubble in space-time. The space in front of the ship contracts, and the space behind it expands. The ship doesn't actually move. Space moves around it. Ben stared at the equations. But the energy requirements should be enormous. How do you power it? We use a matter-antimatter reactor. It's dangerous and difficult to control, but it produces enough energy. We had a few accidents during testing, but we eventually figured it out. A few accidents? Well, more than a few. We lost 3 prototype ships before we got it right. But that's how progress works, right? You try something, it fails, you learn from the failure, and you try again. Ben thought about Kelvorian science. When they developed new technology, they spent decades running simulations and safety tests before they built anything. The idea of losing 3 ships during testing would have been unacceptable. Yet, the humans had done it and kept going. Kate Sullivan was working with Hannah Price, the human engineer. Hannah had been given access to data about the Kelvorian power grid, and she found a problem that had troubled Kelvorian engineers for 20 years. Your distribution network has an efficiency loss of about 12%, Hannah said, pointing at the schematics. It's because of the way you route power through the secondary junctions. If you bypass them and use a direct feed instead, you could reduce the loss to less than 3%. Kate looked at the solution. It was so simple. Too simple. We've had hundreds of engineers study this problem. How did you solve it in 3 hours? Hannah shrugged. Fresh perspective, maybe? Sometimes when you've been looking at a problem for too long, you can't see the simple answer anymore. The solution worked. When they tested it, the efficiency improved exactly as Hannah predicted. Kate felt both impressed and slightly embarrassed that a human who had never seen their technology before could solve a problem their best engineers couldn't. Lieutenant Alex Chen, the young human pilot, became friends with several Kelvorian officers. He was only 24 years old, younger than most people who flew spacecraft, but he had a natural talent for flying and an enthusiasm that was infectious. "How did you learn to pilot at such a young age?" one Kelvorian pilot asked. "I started training when I was 16. Flew my first solo mission at 18. Earth needs a lot of pilots right now, so they're training people fast. I applied for the exploration program as soon as I graduated, and here I am." The Kelvorian pilot was shocked. In the Empire, pilot training took at least 10 years. The idea of putting someone in command of a spacecraft after only 2 years of training seemed reckless, but Alex had flown the shuttle perfectly. His reaction times were fast, and his understanding of navigation was excellent. Sometimes, it seemed, humans just learned things faster than everyone else. Jack Morrison found himself spending more time with Sophie Martinez. They had similar backgrounds as military officers, even though their militaries were very different. They talked about leadership, about the challenges of command, about the responsibility of making decisions that affected other people's lives. "Do you ever doubt yourself?" Jack asked one evening. They were having dinner in a quiet restaurant, away from the crowds of diplomats and scientists. "All the time," Sophie admitted. "Every decision I make on the Pathfinder could get my crew killed. The universe is dangerous, and we're exploring places no human has ever been. But I can't let doubt stop me from doing my job. How do you deal with it?" "I trust my training, I trust my crew. And I accept that I can't control everything. Some things are going to go wrong no matter what I do. All I can do is make the best decisions I can with the information I have." Jack nodded slowly. "We're very similar in some ways, your species and mine, but also very different." "How so?" "You move fast. You take risks. You accept failure as part of progress. We're more careful, more cautious. It's kept us safe for thousands of years, but it also means we move slowly." Sophie smiled. "Maybe we can learn from each other. You can teach us to be more careful, and we can teach you to be more bold." But not everyone was happy about the humans. Intelligence Director Lisa Hayes met privately with Jack in a secure room where no one could overhear them. "Admiral, I have concerns about these humans," Lisa said. Her face was serious, worried. "They're friendly now, but what about in the future? If they developed this much technology in 8,000 years, what will they be capable of in another 1,000 years? Another 10,000? They're explorers, Director. Not conquerors. Not yet. But their ships are fast. Their technology is advancing rapidly, and they're expanding into space faster than any species in history. They launched 12 exploration ships this year. How many will they launch next year? 100? 1,000? Jack understood her concerns, but he didn't share them. "They don't even have weapons on their ships, Lisa. Have you noticed that? They travel through unknown space, completely unarmed, which means they're either foolish or they have weapons we can't detect. I don't know which possibility worries me more." The conversation stayed with Jack. He wanted to believe the humans were as peaceful as they seemed, but Lisa's questions were valid. What would humanity become in the future? Emperor Vexthun made an announcement that surprised everyone. He called a meeting of the Galactic Council, the organization that governed relations between the major empires. He wanted to offer humanity a seat on the council. "This is unprecedented, Your Majesty," his advisors protested. "Species usually wait centuries after first contact before joining the council. The humans have been in space for less than a year. These are not ordinary circumstances," the Emperor replied. "The humans have technology we don't understand and capabilities that exceed our own in some areas. It's better to have them as partners than as unknowns. We need to integrate them into the galactic community while we can." Sophie was called to meet with the Emperor. He explained his offer. Humanity would be given a seat on the Galactic Council, with all the rights and responsibilities that came with it. "This is a great honor, Your Majesty," Sophie said. "But I need to consult with my government on Earth. This isn't a decision I can make alone." "Of course. Take whatever time you need." Sophie went back to her ship and used their quantum communicator. This was another piece of human technology that impressed the Kelvorians. It allowed instant communication across vast distances, something that should have been impossible according to everything they knew about physics. The communication took several hours. Sophie talked with government officials on Earth, explaining the situation and the Emperor's offer. Jack waited anxiously for the response. Finally, Sophie returned to the palace. Her expression was different now. More serious. More formal. "Your Majesty, I've spoken with Earth's government. They asked me to convey their deep gratitude for your generous offer. However, we must respectfully decline membership in the Galactic Council at this time." The room went silent. Emperor Vex Thun leaned forward on his throne. "You decline? Why?" "My government appreciates the gesture, but we have concerns about joining an existing power structure without fully understanding it. We would prefer to take more time to learn about galactic civilization before committing to any political organizations." "I see." The Emperor's voice was cool now. "And what does Earth propose instead?" Sophie took a deep breath. "Earth would like to propose something different. A new kind of organization. Not a council where some species have more power than others, but an alliance of equals. A partnership where every species, regardless of size or age, has an equal voice." Jack saw the shock on the faces of the Kelvorian officials. This was not what anyone had expected. The humans weren't just declining membership. They were challenging the entire structure of galactic government. Sophie continued. "We call it the Alliance of Equals. Every member species maintains its sovereignty but agrees to share technology and resources freely. Decisions are made democratically, with each species having one vote. No empires, no hierarchy. Just cooperation between equals." One of the Emperor's advisors spoke up angrily. "This is absurd. Your species has been in space for 6 months, and you think you can lecture us about government? We've maintained peace for 3,000 years with our current system." "We're not lecturing anyone," Sophie said calmly. "We're offering an alternative. You can accept it or reject it. That's your choice." Emperor Vexthun studied Sophie for a long moment. Then, surprisingly, he smiled. "You are bold, Sophie Martinez. Perhaps too bold, but you have courage. I will grant you that. Tell me, if we reject your proposal, what will you do?" "We'll continue exploring. We'll establish relations with other species we meet, and if some of them want to join our alliance, we'll welcome them. But we won't force anyone. The choice is always free." The Emperor stood from his throne and walked down the steps to stand in front of Sophie. He was taller than her, more imposing, but she didn't step back. "Your proposal is interesting. I will consider it. But first, I want you to demonstrate that your intentions are genuine. Share your technology with us. Show us that you truly believe in cooperation." Sophie nodded. "We will. Dr. Hendricks has already prepared a full technical briefing on the Alcubierre Chen drive. We'll share everything we know." Nunder. 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 The Galactic Council met 1 month later. It was a rare event, bringing together representatives from 200 different species. The council chamber was enormous, with seats arranged in a vast circle. Each species had their own section, and translators worked constantly to convert hundreds of languages into forms everyone could understand. Jack Morrison stood at the back of the Kelvorian section, watching as Sophie Martinez prepared to speak. Earth had sent additional representatives for this meeting. Ambassador Grace Williams had arrived 2 weeks ago on another human ship, and she would present Earth's proposal formally. Grace was older than Sophie, perhaps 50 years old, with gray hair and a calm, confident manner. She had spent her career as a diplomat on Earth, negotiating treaties between different human nations. Now she faced her biggest challenge yet. The Zarthian ambassador spoke first, his voice filled with contempt. "We are here to discuss a proposal from a species that discovered fire yesterday, in galactic terms. The humans want to lecture us about governance when they cannot even unite their own planet. Earth still has over 100 separate nations, all competing with each other. How can they propose an alliance when they cannot create one among themselves?" Grace responded calmly. "You're absolutely right, Ambassador. Earth is not united. We have different nations, different cultures, different languages, and yes, we still argue and sometimes fight among ourselves. But that's exactly why we believe in an alliance of equals. We know what it's like to be small. We know what it's like to have different viewpoints and still need to work together. We're not claiming to be perfect. We're claiming to be practical." Another ambassador, this one from the Mithraxian Unity, spoke up. "Your proposal would give equal power to species that have existed for millions of years, and species that just learned to leave their planets. How is that fair? How is it unfair?" Grace replied. "Every intelligent species has value. Every culture has knowledge worth sharing. Age doesn't automatically make you wiser. Sometimes the newest perspective is the most valuable one, because it sees things others have stopped noticing." The debate continued for hours. Some ambassadors were intrigued by the human proposal. Others were offended. The older empires saw it as a threat to their power. The younger species saw it as an opportunity. Finally, Emperor Vexthun asked for silence. As leader of one of the largest empires, his opinion carried significant weight. "I have spent considerable time studying the humans and their proposal," he said. "I have also spent time studying their technology. Dr. Hendricks provided us with complete specifications for their faster-than-light drive, freely and without conditions. We have analyzed it thoroughly." Dr. Carter stood up in the Kelvorian section. "With Your Majesty's permission, I would like to share our findings." The Emperor nodded, and Ben walked to the center of the chamber. Images appeared on the screens, showing complex equations and engineering diagrams. "The human drive technology is remarkable," Ben said. "Not because it's more complex than ours, but because it's simpler. They achieved faster-than-light travel using principles that were available to us for thousands of years. But we never thought to combine them in this way. They didn't have vast databases of ancient knowledge to build on, so they had to think of new solutions." He brought up more data. "In the past month, using the principles they shared, we've improved our own drive systems by 30%. Ships that used to take a week to cross the Empire can now do it in 5 days. This technology, given freely by the humans, has already benefited us enormously." The chamber buzzed with conversation. 30% improvement was significant. If the humans could do that in their first contact with galactic civilization, what else might they accomplish? The Yukon Reedmans, what in the Murdersly? Admiral Jack Morrison was asked to speak about his observations of the humans. He walked to the center, feeling the eyes of 200 different species watching him. "I've spent the past month working closely with the humans," Jack said. "I want to tell you what I've learned. They are not like us. They think differently. When we see a problem that's been unsolved for decades, we assume it's very difficult. When they see the same problem, they assume we just haven't tried the right approach yet." He gestured to where Sophie and the other humans sat. "They lost 3 ships during testing of their drive system. 3 ships, with crews aboard. In our empire, that would have ended the program. Safety reviews would have shut it down for years. But the humans learned from each failure and kept trying. They value progress as much as they value safety." "That sounds reckless," one ambassador said. "Maybe," Jack agreed. "Or maybe it's brave. Maybe the reason they advanced so fast is because they're willing to take risks we're not. They don't wait for permission to try something new. They don't assume something is impossible just because it hasn't been done before. He paused, choosing his words carefully. I believe the humans are offering us something valuable. Not just their technology, but their perspective. They're showing us that there are other ways to approach problems, other ways to organize ourselves. We can accept their offer or reject it, but either way, they've already changed how we think. Emperor Vexthun stood again. I have made my decision. The Kelvorian Empire will transition to a federation over the next century. We will join the Alliance of Equals as a founding member. Our government will become more democratic, with greater representation for all our member worlds. The announcement shocked everyone. The Kelvorian Empire was 3,000 years old, one of the most powerful forces in the galaxy. For its emperor to voluntarily give up power was unprecedented. Furthermore, Vexthun continued, the humans have proven their good faith by sharing their technology. They are not conquerors. They are explorers who want to learn and share knowledge. That is something worth supporting. Over the next week, 47 other species announced they would join the Alliance of Equals. They were mostly smaller civilizations, species that had felt overlooked or controlled by the larger empires. But their combined population was in the trillions, and their territories covered thousands of star systems. Not everyone agreed. The Mithraxian Unity and several other traditional empires refused to join. They saw the alliance as a threat to the established order. The galaxy was now divided between two different philosophies of government, but the division was not hostile. Trade continued. Diplomatic relations remained open, and both sides agreed to respect each other's sovereignty. It was, as Grace Williams said, proof that different systems could coexist peacefully. The Pathfinder prepared to leave Kelvor Prime and continue its exploration mission. Sophie stood in the docking bay with her crew, saying goodbye to the friends they had made. Kate Sullivan surprised everyone by requesting a transfer to work with Earth's space program. I want to learn how you think, she told Sophie. Maybe I can help, and maybe I can bring some of what I learn back to my own people. Dr. Carter announced he would collaborate with Dr. Hendricks on a joint research project combining Kelvorian and human science to develop new technologies. Jack Morrison made the biggest change of all. He retired from the Kelvorian fleet and accepted a position as Earth's ambassador to the new Federation. Someone needs to help bridge the gap between human and Kelvorian thinking, he said. 2 years passed. Jack stood on Earth for the first time, at a spaceport in what the humans called North America. The sky was blue, the air was fresh, and the sun felt warm on his face. It was a beautiful planet, and he understood why the humans were so eager to explore beyond it. They wanted to find other places as wonderful as their home. Sophie approached him. Now promoted to admiral and given command of Earth's diplomatic fleet. They had become close friends over the past 2 years, meeting regularly as their two governments worked together. What do you think? Sophie asked, gesturing at the spaceport. Dozens of ships were preparing to launch, heading out to explore the galaxy. I think you're moving very fast, Jack said. Do you ever worry that you're going too fast? Sophie watched a ship rise into the sky, its engines burning bright. Every day. But staying still scares me more than moving fast. There are 400 billion stars in this galaxy, and we want to see as many as we can. Someone has to explore them. I'm glad it's you and not the Mithraxians, Jack said with a smile. They both laughed. Another ship launched, and then another. Earth was sending out hundreds of vessels now, each one carrying humans eager to see what was beyond their world. You know what the best part is? Sophie said. We're not alone anymore. We found you, and the Zarthians, and so many others. The universe is full of intelligent life, and we get to meet them all. That's what we always hoped for. Quote, Rive. Wintel. Quote, Jack watched the ships disappear into the sky. The Kelvorian Empire had existed for 3,000 years, stable and unchanging. In just 2 years, the humans had transformed it into something new, not through conquest or force, but through friendship and shared ideals. He thought about his daughter Amy, who was now studying alien languages at a human university. He thought about Kate Sullivan, who was helping design Earth's next generation of starships. He thought about all the changes that were coming, the new technologies, the new ideas, the new ways of seeing the universe. The humans were right about one thing. Moving forward was better than standing still. Progress meant taking risks, accepting failures, and never assuming something was impossible just because it was difficult. The galaxy will never be the same, Jack said quietly. Sophie smiled. No, it won't. But I think that's a good thing. Far above them, in orbit around Earth, the Pathfinder floated peacefully. Its mission of exploration would continue, taking it to new star systems and unknown worlds, and wherever it went, it carried with it the human spirit of curiosity, courage, and the unshakable belief that the impossible was just the difficult waiting to be solved. The Empire had been on edge, frightened by an unknown vessel that moved too fast and came from nowhere. Now that fear had transformed into hope. The humans had arrived, and they brought with them the promise that the universe was bigger, stranger, and more wonderful than anyone had imagined. And that, Jack thought as he watched another ship launch toward the stars, was exactly what the galaxy needed.